So what you do, you turn that handle, if it wasn't all seized up, and that ratchet there will turn that wheel there in segments, yeah?
Okay.
So you can adjust that for how large a segment you want to go through, and it obviously feeds through there. But on that side, that crank arm pushes that up and down, and that would have had a guillotine blade on it.
Right.
But I really don't have a clue what it is. You can adjust all the throws on it and stuff. No, you can't adjust the cut throw, but that you can adjust the feed. So something goes in there, feeds down there, that adjusts how much it goes through before that goes up and down and cuts it. I would say it's got pins, like pinstripe on it, so it might be domestic use, not industrial use.
There's no manufacturer markings on it.
Can't see anything on it, no. There's an 18 written there. I came up with pasta cutter.
Yeah.
I came up with paper cutter. Just thought somebody out there might know what the hell it is.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, this is Simon Humar. This is regarding seam sealing the Mini Cooper. I'm restoring a VW T3 T25 and I thought I should put some seam sealer on panel joints after epoxy primer, but here it is put on bare metal. Is it better or it doesn't make any difference?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What I'll do is get a decent quality seam sealer in a gun if you're really worried about it. You can just use the brush on like we did,
Yeah.
or you can get your seam sealer gun with a very fine nozzle and gun that down the joint first, let that dry, then you know it's right in the joint, then you can brush on over the top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, after it's been epoxy primed, it'll be fine.
So you can do either way and it wouldn't make much of a difference?
Nah.
Vinnie Martello, and this was assembling the crank conrods and bearings on the Ford flathead.
Yep.
He says, I'm still trying to find out if anyone has ever made a 5-journal crank for the flathead. Are you aware of anything like that?
I would imagine some of the racers might have done back in the day, but it would have to be another cast block, unless you could weld in or bolt in another web. I don't know. The only place you'd find something like that is look into flathead history of drag racing. I don't know of one. Bob Frosch, you give him a ring. He is the man with flatheads. He knows all about them. I've never heard of one, but I mean they did revert, like crossblade cranks for them on off scat firing cams and all sorts of weird stuff. Yeah, but I don't know about another bearing. I'm not sure.
Okay. Lucas 400. This was guide to when you were doing the sheet metal fabrication. This is, what dolly are you using? I'm looking to buy a good set.
Frost Restorations do a good set, a dolly set. And what you want is they come in. You get so you've got comma dolly, which is that shape. I think that's called a universal. A large flat and a small flat. But the difference is that's another version of the universal. But if you feel the weight of that and the weight of that, that's probably half as heavy again as that. So you want dense, real dense metal.
Okay.
Pretty sure these came from Frost Restoration. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they're basically it's the smoothness. Like if you look at that, it's not well made, Whereas that got a nice smoother. You want to keep them as good as you can, basically. I mean, these are old now. I've had them donkey's years, but you want to keep all your marks and scratches and dents out of them. You can sand them up, but same with your planishing hammer. Don't use it to smack nails in. Keep the head of it nice and clean.
Yeah.
But basically, the more you pay for those, the better they are.
Eddie McClements, regarding when you were building the engine on the Mini Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
He says you put oil beneath the main bearing shells. I was always taught not to lube behind the shells, only onto the bearing surfaces.
I can see why, because it will tighten up, but to me, the more lubrication you can get in there, the better. You'll always have a film of oil in there, because you've got tolerance. So your bearing will always accept oil. Yeah, there's different trains of thought on it. It's just the way I do it, you know.
Mad gaming skills, and this is regarding the timing chain and rocker arms on the Buick Series 40. You set the old rockers to 15 thou in the engine. Does it have to be hot? In the book I have, it says 17 thou is good, 18 thou is not good.
As far as I was aware, all of your Buick stuff is... It might change with years with different metals and things like that, different expansion rates on your rocker arms, different expansion rates on your valves. Whether it was cold or not, I can't remember. On the side of the engine it tells you, I think, on the spark plug cover plate. I can't remember off the top of my head whether it's hot or cold. Just do it as per the instructions, but obviously making sure you've got the right year book for the right year car, and making sure obviously that your engine is the right year for the car.
Yeah.
If it's not an original engine, find out what year the engine is and then look up the specs on that.
Yeah.
Because it will only be difference in metals, and obviously it will tell you hot or cold. I can't remember off the top of my head, to be honest with you. But it should, if you've got the spark plug side cover, I think it tells you on it. I'm sure it's cold, 15th hour cold.
Okay. Alfie Dog, and this is when you were doing the gearbox assessment on the WLA. It reminds me of rebuilding the T84 of my Jeep. Has Ash ever restored a wartime Jeep?
No.
Oh.
No.
Any desire to do so?
Not particularly, but it doesn't really bother me. No, I've never done a Jeep. I know lots of people who have, and lots of people who've had them. I know if you get serious about them and you want it all original, you can end up spending a lot of money, because they do stuff called Hotchkiss, different engines like this, because Ford built them and Willis built them. But if you've got a Ford one, even the backs of the seats have got a letter F script in them.
Oh, okay.
And all, if you want to really get it down to the nitty gritty, you can spend a lot of money on the right parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Resale values, do they hold up or not?
Yeah, I mean...
If you go to Goodwood and get drunk, then maybe, yeah.
Well, that one there is a US Navy one, £33,500 for a Jeep. But somebody just wants a run around one, you're probably better off just getting all the modern bits on it, you know, like, I don't know where they come from, I'm sure they're called Hotchkiss engines or something, but if you want one totally original, like as it was in World War II, you're going to spend a lot of money.
Declan M, this is on the bike maintenance from last week.
Yep.
Is there anything to look for in the lubrication system, i.e. the primary oil pump and the scavenge pump? In particular, we have a civilianised WLC that's been sitting in a shed for decades, last rode in 1956. It still turns over with some amount of compression, but our biggest concern is the oiling system and finding out if it functions without taking apart the entire engine.
Right, basically that there, that one is your feed pipe. Undo that. Obviously, if the oil's that old, you want to drain the tank anyway. So undo that. If you've got another union, make a little dummy pipe up, or just put a very small funnel in there, fill it with oil, kick the bike over with the plugs out, and you'll see if that oil level goes down from the top of the funnel, because you can't tell whether it's going down from here or not.
Yeah.
That way you know the oil's getting into the engine. This one is your return pipe, so you can either pop it off there and keep kicking it over just to see if your return pipe works or not. That one's just a breather. Yeah, basically that's it. Fill that up, kick it over, see if you've got oil. It's easy to take the oil pump off. Just all it is a round circle with two vanes in it. That's all it is that drives it. But like I say, if you take that off of there, just put some oil in that, kick it over, and you'll see if that oil level goes down. You know it's getting into the engine then. If you can take that pipe off of, that's your return pipe there, look. That's your scavenge pump. that picks the oil up out the bottom of the crankcase. So you can take that off of there if you want to, and just see if it's spilling oil out, or indeed you can take that screw out of there, because that's your rear chain oiler. That, if you take that screw right out, you should get oil coming out of that, and that will tell you that the scavenge pump's picking up from the bottom of the sump. And that's basically it.
Okay.
And the other one's just a breather. So you can't tell by that if it's getting oil around the engine, because you can't see it physically move because there's so much oil in it. If you pop that off of there, just put a little bit of oil in it, kick it over, and you'll see that it's getting in. Then you should see as well if it's coming up on the scavenge pump.
Cool.
If it's been sitting for years and years and years, the crankcase is probably full of oil. Okay, so you want to drain it out, or you can kick it over gently with the plugs out and check your scavenge pump first, because you know the sump will be full of oil because it's been sitting for so long.
Yeah.
So basically, if you check that first, just take that screw out of there, and it should get oil out of it if you kick it over. And then, because you know the crankcase, if it's been sitting for years, the crankcase will be full of oil. Don't try and start it. So you've got to drain your crankcase first. Then you'll know the scavenge pump's picking it up out the bottom of the sump. Put it in there, a little funnel, kick it over, and you'll know it's coming into the engine from there. And then when it's running, sometimes you see a return, but it'll just froth up the oil that's in there. Basically, it just makes it go frothy. And that's it, really.
Next week on the workshop.
Right, things to check if you're buying a bike. Basically, engine is all about noise. You know, you can hear if something's clanging and banging around horribly, then you just... Depends how rare the bike is. You either factor it into your pricings or you walk away.